Hey guys, how are you? So let's find out what happens to Pooh Bear and the Woozles. Let's see. So there's Pooh and Piglet. They see the tracks. They're trying to figure out what it is. Do you see these, Piglet? Look at their tracks. Three, as it were, Woozles, and one, as it was, Whizzle. Another Woozle has joined them. And so it seemed to be. There were the tracks, crossing over each other here, getting muddled up with each other there. But quite plainly, every now and then, the tracks of four sets of paws. "I think," said Piglet, when he had licked the tip of his nose too, and found that it brought very little comfort, "I think that I may have just remembered something. Have just remembered something that I forgot to do yesterday and shan't be able to do tomorrow, so I suppose I really ought to go back and do it now." "We'll do it this afternoon, and I'll come with you," said Pooh. "It isn't that sort of thing you can do in the afternoon," said Piglet quickly. "It's a very particular morning thing, and it has to be done in the morning, and if possible between the hours of—" "What time would you say it was?" "About 12," said Winnie the Pooh, looking at the sun. "Between, as I was saying, the hours of 12 and 12:05. So, really, dear old Pooh, if you'll excuse me—" "What's that?" Pooh looked up in the sky, and then, as he heard the whistle again, he looked up into the branches of the big tree and then saw a friend of his. "It's Christopher Robin," he said. "Ah, you'll be all right," said Piglet. "You'll be quite safe with him. Goodbye." And he walked off home as quickly as he could, very glad to be out of danger again. Christopher Robin slowly came down his tree. "Silly old bear," he said. "What were you doing? First you went around the spiny twice by yourself, and then Piglet ran after you, and you went around again together, and then you were just going around a fourth time." "Wait a minute," said Pooh. He sat down and thought in the most thoughtful way he could think. Then he fitted his paw into one of the tracks. Then he scratched his nose and stood up. "Yes," said Winnie the Pooh, "I see now. I have been foolish, and I am a bear of very little brain." "You're the best bear in all the world," said Christopher Robin soothingly. "Am I?" said Pooh, hopefully, and then he brightened up. "Anyhow, it's lunchtime soon." So he went home to do it. This story starts with Eeyore. You guys know who Eeyore is? He's the very silly, sad donkey. The next day, gray old Eeyore stood by himself in the center of the forest, his front feet apart and his head on one side, and thought about things. Sometimes he thought sadly to himself, "Why?" And then he thought, "Wherefore?" And sometimes he thought, "Inasmuch as which?" And sometimes he didn't quite know what he was thinking about. So when Winnie the Pooh came stumping along, Eeyore was very glad to be able to stop thinking for a little while to say, "How do you do?" in a gloomy way to Pooh. "And how are you?" said Winnie the Pooh. Eeyore shook his head from side to side. "Not very how," he said. "I don't seem to have feet at all. For how long of a time?" "Dear, dear, I'm sorry about that. Let's have a look at you." So Eeyore stood there, gazing sadly at the ground, and Winnie the Pooh walked around him once. "Why, what's happened to your tail?" he said in surprise. You see that? Eeyore doesn't have his tail. Uh-oh. Let's see where his tail went. "What happened to it?" said Eeyore. "It isn't there." "Are you sure?" "Well, either a tail is there or a tail isn't there. You can't make a mistake about it, and yours isn't there." "Then what is?" "Nothing." "Let's have a look," said Eeyore, and he turned slowly around to the place where his tail had been a little while ago. And then, finding he couldn't catch it up, he turned around the other way until he came back to where he was at first. And then he put his head down and looked between his legs, and at last he said, "I believe you're right." He's trying to look and see if he can find his tail. "You must have left it somewhere," said Winnie the Pooh. "Somebody must have taken it," said Eeyore. "How like them," he added. Pooh felt that he ought to say something helpful about it, but he didn't know what, so he decided to do something helpful instead. "Eeyore, I, Winnie the Pooh, will find your tail for you." Oh my goodness. So let's hope Pooh Bear can help Eeyore find his tail tomorrow. Alright guys, I will see you tomorrow. I love you. Please, if you want to show me a video or show me a picture, I would love to see it. Bye guys.